God is the one who began creating everything. All the good things we have come from Him. God created the sun to light up the day, the moon, and the stars to bring a little light to the night. He also created the earth to be our home. However, the sun, moon, stars, and earth were not the first things God created. First, He created spiritual beings similar to Himself. These beings, called angels in the Bible, live with Him in heaven. Human eyes cannot see these angels, just as we cannot see God. Among the angels, the first one created was a very special being. He was God's firstborn son, who worked alongside Him. This son helped God create everything else, including the sun, moon, stars, and our earth. At the time the earth was first formed, it was completely uninhabitable. The entire surface was covered by a vast ocean. But God planned to create humans, and so He began to prepare everything for them. First, the earth needed light. God caused light from the sun to shine down, bringing about the division of day and night. Then He caused land to rise above the waters, forming dry ground. Initially, the land was empty. There were no flowers, trees, or animals. Even the seas had no fish or other living creatures. God continued His work, decorating the earth and transforming it into a beautiful place where humans and animals could live. A beautiful garden. Look at the scene below. How beautiful everything on earth is. Look at the grass, flowers, trees, and all the animals. Can you spot the elephant and the lions? Can you point to where they are? Where did this beautiful garden come from? Let's see how God prepared the earth for us. First, God made grass grow on the ground. Then, He created all kinds of small plants, bushes, and large trees. These made the earth look beautiful. But more than that, they provided us with plenty of food and delicious fruits. Next, God made different types of fish to swim in the water and birds to fly in the sky. He also created dogs, cats, and horses, as well as large and small animals. What animals do you see around your home? Shouldn't we rejoice that God made all these things for us? Finally, God created a very special place on earth. He called it the Garden of Eden. It was a perfect garden. Everything in it was beautiful. And God's plan was for the whole earth to one day become as beautiful as the garden He had made. But look at this garden again. Do you know what God thought was still missing? Let's find out. The first man and woman. Do you notice something different in this picture? That's right, there are people in it now. These are the first man and woman. Who created them? God did. Do you know what God's name is? His name is Jehovah. The man's name was Adam, and the woman's name was Eve. Let's see how Jehovah God created Adam. He took some dust from the ground and formed it into the shape of a man. Then He blew the breath of life into Adam's nose, and Adam became a living person. Jehovah God gave Adam a special task. He told Adam to name all the animals. Adam probably observed the animals for a long time to pick the right name for each one. While Adam was naming the animals, he began to notice something. Do you know what it was? Every animal had a partner. There was a father elephant and a mother elephant, a father lion and a mother lion. But Adam didn't have anyone to be his companion. So Jehovah caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep, and He took one of Adam's ribs. Using that rib, Jehovah created a woman for Adam, and she became his wife. How happy Adam must have been now. And imagine how joyful Eve must have felt to live in such a beautiful garden. Together, they could have children, and all of them could live happily together. Jehovah wanted Adam and Eve to live forever. He wanted them to make the whole earth as beautiful as the Garden of Eden. Thinking about this work must have made Adam and Eve feel so excited. Would you like to help make the earth into a beautiful garden? But Adam and Eve's happiness didn't last long. Let's find out why. Why were they expelled from the Garden of Eden? Now let's see what happened. Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden. Do you know why? It was because they did something very wrong. As a result, Jehovah punished them. Do you know what wrong thing Adam and Eve did? They disobeyed God's command. God told them they could eat the fruit of any tree in the garden, but He warned them not to eat from one particular tree. He said that if they ate from it, they would die. That tree belonged to God alone. And we know that taking something that belongs to someone else is wrong, don't we? So what happened? One day, While Eve was alone in the garden, a serpent came and spoke to her. Imagine that. The serpent told Eve to eat the fruit of the tree that God had commanded them not to eat from. Now, when Jehovah created the serpent, he didn't give it the ability to speak. So this means that someone else made the serpent speak. Who was it? It wasn't Adam. So it must have been one of the angels that Jehovah had created long before he made the earth. These angels are unseen to us. One of these angels became very arrogant. He wanted to rule like God and desired people to obey him instead of Jehovah. He was the angel who made the serpent speak. This angel deceived Eve. When he told her that she would become like God if she ate the fruit, she believed him. So she ate it, and Adam ate it as well. Adam and Eve disobeyed God, and that is why they lost their place in the beautiful garden. But in the future, God will ensure that the entire earth becomes as beautiful as the Garden of Eden. Later, we will learn how we can help make the earth as beautiful as that. But for now, let's see what happened to Adam and Eve. A life of hardship begins. Living outside the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve faced many difficulties. They had to work hard just to have enough food. Instead of beautiful fruit trees, they saw thorns and thistles growing around them. This was the result of Adam and Eve disobeying God and no longer being his friends. But even worse, Adam and Eve began to die. Remember, God had warned them that if they ate from the forbidden tree, they would die. So, on the very day they ate, they started the process of dying. How foolish it was to disobey God. All of Adam and Eve's children were born after God expelled their parents from the Garden of Eden. This means their children, too, would grow old and eventually die. If only Adam and Eve had obeyed Jehovah, how happy their lives and the lives of their children would have been. They could have lived forever in happiness on earth. No one would have grown old, gotten sick, or died. God desires everyone to live forever in happiness, and he promises that this will happen in the future. Not only will the whole earth become beautiful, but everyone will be healthy. People on earth at that time will be good friends with one another and with God. However, Eve was no longer God's friend. Because of this, she didn't give birth easily. She had to endure pain. Surely disobeying Jehovah brought her much suffering, don't you agree? Adam and Eve had many sons and daughters. Their first son was named Cain. Their second son was named Abel. What happened to them? Do you know? A good son and a bad son. Now look at Cain and Abel. Both had grown up. Cain became a farmer, growing grains, fruits, and vegetables. Abel became a shepherd. He loved taking care of young lambs, which grew into healthy sheep. Before long, Abel had a whole flock to tend. One day, Cain and Abel offered gifts to God. Cain brought some of the food he had grown, while Abel offered the best sheep he had. Jehovah was pleased with Abel and his gift, but not with Cain and his offering. Do you know why? It wasn't just because Abel's gift was better. It was because Abel was a good person. He loved Jehovah and his brother. But Cain was bad. He didn't love his brother. Cain walks away after killing Abel. God told Cain to change his attitude, but Cain didn't listen. He was angry because God favored Abel. So, Cain said to Abel, "Let's go out into the field." When they were alone, Cain struck Abel so hard that he killed him. What a terrible thing Cain did, right? Even though Abel died, God still remembers him. Abel was a good person, and Jehovah never forgets someone like that. In the future, Jehovah God will bring Abel back to life. At that time, Abel will never die again. He will be able to live forever on this earth. Wouldn't it be wonderful to meet people like Abel? But God is not pleased with people like Cain. So, after Cain killed his brother, God punished him by sending him far away from his family. When Cain moved to another place, he took one of his sisters with him, and she became his wife. Then Cain and his wife had children. Adam and Eve's other sons and daughters married one another and also had children. Before long, the earth became populated with many people. Let's learn about some of them. A brave man. As people began to increase in number on the earth, most of them became wicked, just like Cain. But one man stood out. His name was Enoch. Enoch was a brave man. While everyone around him did very bad things, Enoch remained faithful in serving God. During Enoch's time, a violent man killed another person. Do you know why people in those days did so many bad things? Think about it. Who caused Adam and Eve to disobey God and eat the fruit that he had commanded them not to eat? Yes, it was a wicked angel. The Bible calls him Satan, and Satan tried to make everyone evil. One day, Jehovah God gave Enoch a message to share with the people, something they didn't want to hear. Enoch told them, "Soon, God will destroy all the wicked people." This message likely made people very angry. They might have even tried to kill Enoch. So Enoch had to be very brave to tell people what God was going to do. The wicked people during Enoch's time lived sinful lives. God didn't let Enoch live too long among those wicked people. Enoch lived only 365 years. Why do we say only 365 years? Because back then, people were much healthier and lived much longer than we do now. For example, Enoch's son, Methuselah, lived to be 969 years old. After Enoch died, the people became even more wicked. The Bible says every inclination of the thoughts of their heart was only bad all the time, and the earth was filled with violence. Do you know one of the reasons there were so many problems on earth at that time? It's because Satan found a new way to make people do bad things. We'll learn about this in the next story.